Alright, headed out to Oklahoma this morning. As you can probably see, it has been snowing for about a half hour, kind of let up a little bit. It's not supposed to snow in Oklahoma, so we're still going to go ahead and continue with the trip, but we'll see what happens. So I made several mistakes at this trip. First off was buying this microphone that hooks up to my camera for better sound quality, but the wind just shorted it out the whole time and just popped and crackled, and you couldn't hear what I was saying anyways. And I didn't catch on until about the second day that it wasn't working. So for the first half of these videos, I'll be doing a lot of narrating in spots. And something new I'll be doing from here on out in these videos is when you see this icon, you know that this location is a wheelchair-friendly location via sidewalk, ramp, or just easy to maneuver on. Second mistake I made was this microphone wire kept getting in front of the camera, and I didn't realize that you can see it there in the right-hand corner. It took me about a day before I finally caught on that it was doing that and fixed the problem. And there she is, the world's largest, not tallest, totem pole in the world. There is actually one in California that is taller than this one. However, still quite impressive. So the man who built this name is Ed Galloway, and the construction went from 1937 to 1961. He passed away in 1962, but he left behind an amazing piece of folk art. Place here. This place is located about 20-30 minutes from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and just about 3.5 miles off of Route 66. And it's most definitely worth taking the 20-minute detour. And best of all, it is free. There is a gift shop here, but it wasn't open. Seems to be more of a seasonal, certain times of the year kind of thing, which was too bad. I would like to see what they had inside. But the detail on the shop alone, I mean, it was just as awesome as what was on the totem poles. And then park benches here are really detailed. Those fish are amazing looking. You know, a lot of hard work went into making this place. If you do find yourself traveling across the United States on Route 66, this is a definite must stop. Give you a place to stretch your legs and get a couple of good pictures from memory. Fun for a few minutes. And on to my next stop, which is, I can't think, Buzzard. Not too far from Oklahoma City. So my second stop of the day, am I recording? So my second stop of the day here is Buzzard Roost Arch. And there it is up top, that little cutaway. And that is the Buzzard Roost Arch. See if it lives up to its name. Doesn't look like it's too far of a hike from the parking spot. Just a steep incline, a lot of rocks and sand, and some branches and roots, and just worried about coming across some rattlesnakes. Yeah, so I don't have any idea what I was talking about at this point. Sound quality was so bad I couldn't hear what I was talking about to try to repeat it, but I think I was just complaining about the steep incline and the loose gravel. Nothing really important. And there it is again, that pesky microphone cable that somehow just kept getting in front of my phone camera, and I never realized it till about 2 days later. I eventually just wound up taking the microphone off altogether. In the long run, it eliminated 2 problems: the crappy sound and getting rid of that pesky cable. The iPhone 11 actually has a pretty good microphone built into it. I should have just stuck with that the whole time. I wound up using it the rest of the trip, and most of the recordings came out pretty good. At the top, you see my car down there. Inside the arch. Rumor has it, on top of this rock formation, there is a carving in the rock of some initials that are quite possibly put there by Jesse James or his brother. I'm not positive. I did not climb up to the top. I actually left my snake-resistant boots down in the car. Whole reason why I bought them was so I can do stuff like this, but I honestly didn't want to go all the way back down that hill to the car and come all the way back up just to climb on top of this rock and see if that was up there or not. Also, it was rumored, I don't know if it's true, but this was also featured in the film Young Guns, where Emilio Estevez was sitting in a chair as an old man, and this was in the background. I tried looking it up, but I didn't find anything yet, but if I do, I'll put it up in this video. This arch is technically on private property, but it's pretty accessible from the road, and as you can see by the graffiti, other people have been here multiple times, and it's a shame, but it's a pretty cool little place. So if you do find yourself in the Wichita Mountain area, this is actually a pretty cool little stop. It's just about a half hour, 40 minutes outside of the park. You know, quick little stop. The road's kind of crappy, but it's not too bad once you get in. My next stop landed me on top of a little place called Mount Scott, which is the first thing you see when you enter through the east side of the Wichita Wildlife Refuge. It's a 360 view from the mountaintop, which is wheelchair accessible, by the way, at least from the parking lot. And the views from up here go on for miles. I still hadn't fixed my microphone problem at this point, so most of this segment's gonna be narrated. The views from up here are amazing, and if nobody had told me, I would not have thought this was Oklahoma. It does not fit what you think Oklahoma would look like. It's more of a Joshua Tree National Forest, California kind of look with the giant boulders and everything. But the ones you see here aren't even as big as the ones I'm going to later on. I'll be heading over to Elk Mountain over there in the distance. The boulders over there are just humongous. I didn't do too much here. I just did a little boulder hopping and some scrambling, just to kind of get myself in the mood for what I was going to be doing later on the bigger rocks. And that tree up there, that's where I started up. That's where my car's at. And then go a little bit down to the edge there. Kind of just get a better view, get some better pictures. Some of these gaps are pretty huge. They go down pretty deep. You know, I'd hate to fall down there. You'd probably break your leg or something and get stuck. I mean, they don't look that big on film, but in person, you could probably fit your whole body in one of those. This is actually a great place to start when you first get to the Wichita Wildlife Refuge. Gives you a good scale on how big the park really is. And that is where I was just at on top of that mountain. But now I'm on to my next stop, which is Holy City, which is just right down the road. And here we are at the Holy City of the Wichitas, which is just about a mile down the road from Mount Scott where we were just at. And it seems to be about the second biggest attraction here in the park. We did see quite a few buffalo coming into the parking lot. Supposedly there is a prairie dog village right outside the gates, but I must have missed them when I was coming in. And yes, this place is wheelchair accessible. However, if you haven't noticed, the pavement here isn't very well upkept, so it is a little rough in some spots. But this place is ran on donation only. It's not funded by the Wichita Mountain Wildlife Refuge. So keep that in mind if you do come to visit. Drop a little donation in the donation box. Help them keep this place upkept and clean, open to the public for everyone to enjoy. And there it is, the holy city of the Wichitas. This place is actually used for passion plays on Easter time, but when it's not used for that, it's open to the public. There is a visitor center right there in this castle, and up top you can see the crest of the Wichitas where we were just at a few minutes ago. So this place was constructed back in the 1930s and currently has the longest running passion play in our nation today. And at one point, it held an audience of over 225,000 people right here in this spot to see the play. It made national news for that record-breaking attendance. And as you can see, still wheelchair accessible, but it is very rough. So you might have a little hard time, but you can still get around to most of the buildings. There will be a few places you won't be able to get to, but you can still see them from the sidewalk. So all in all, this is a pretty cool place to visit, pretty fun. I think they did a really good job recreating the holy city. And best of all, this is a free attraction. So now I'm on my actual first hike of the trip. This is leading up to the Jed Johnston Tower, which is a lookout tower that kind of sits on the edge of a cliff looking over the lake. It's not too far from the holy city. And there it is off in the distance there, the Jed Johnston Tower. And this is the lake right here in front of me that it overlooks. It's not a horrible hike. It was only about 20 minutes getting there. You see that wire keep popping up in the corner again. I do eventually fix this, I promise, as well as the sound. It was still super windy in this spot and the microphone was still crackling, so I am doing voiceovers on all these segments. This section here reminded me of something out of a Tim Burton movie with these trees, kind of like Sleepy Hollow or something, and a real creepy dark feel. Right about here I'm at the halfway point, getting ready to ascend the mountain, or hill anyways. It's pretty rocky, make your own trail here at some points. And I am almost to the top of the hill here, and there in front of me is the Jed Johnston Tower. And it is super windy up here. I'm gonna let you guys hear what the original sound recording sounded like so you know exactly what I was dealing with this whole time. I'm on the other side of the lake right now, and you can see the Jed Johnston Tower from across the lake over at this little dam I stopped at. It's just a little pullover. You can walk up and look at the dam. Nothing spectacular or anything, but worth a stop. Now from here, I'm going to be heading on over to Elk Mountain, where I'll be doing the majority of my rock climbing and hiking for my trip here in the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. So now I'm here at Elk Mountain, and this is the whole reason why I came all the way out to the Wichita Wildlife Refuge. It's for this place right here. It has a thing called Monolith Boulder, which is a ginormous boulder, massive. A place called Spider Split, and an arch that I'd like to see as well. There's also a few other places, the Slide, which we'll see here in a minute, and Heart Rock, which is a really cool heart-shaped rock. Also going to see this cable pop up in the corner of my screen again a few more times, but this will be the last segment we see it in. After this, my phone died, and I took the cable off and the microphone off and didn't use it for the rest of the trip. And there it is, Heart Rock. I want to dedicate that to my wife Christy, who could not make it on this trip because she was studying for school. Wish you were here. So the parking spot for this place is literally right on the side of the road, and there's no trail leading into these boulders. You go straight into it, and because you are walking on granite, there is no trail, there is no markings of telling you where to go. You kind of have to figure it out on your own, figure out what path to go through, what rock to climb around, under, on top of. It's a whole lot of decision making, and you just do what the best route for yourself is. This section here that I'm standing on right now is called the slide, and it's just a huge slab of granite that goes from top to bottom. I guess resembles a slide, and I guess you could slide down it. It is pretty steep. At some point you got to use both your hands and feet to get up it. So I was dealing with some navigational issues at this point. I was up here at sunset, and the sun was blinding me in the direction I was going, and I really couldn't see where I was going. I kept stepping in cracks and tripping over rocks, so it was getting kind of dangerous. I just wasn't sure exactly where these places I was going were at because there is no trail. So I wound up just going back, not wanting to get stuck up here in the dark and breaking my leg. Not only does this place have a rock that looks like a heart, it has a rock that looks like a butt crack. I'm gonna call that one Plumber Rock. Unless somebody has already named it, I don't know.